Morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. What's new in the Holy Land, Wayne?
Everything is beautiful. My
Did you
son
run?
was just here for a mission.
I
We had
heard.
a very, I think, meaningful experience.
Yeah, yeah. Did you run in the marathon?
Yeah, I ran away from the marathon. I'm very good at that.
Ran to the cafe. Yeah. Okay. All right, good. Is Jesse back yet already? You're muted.
He got back late last night,
Ah,
like,
okay.
like this morning. I think he's just experiencing the change now.
Okay. Got it. All right. Okay, let's get started. Good morning, everybody. A guten chodesh. It's a short cheer today because of the Rosh Chodesh. So here's the new Shaila. We've discussed this concept a few times already over the course of the last few years, which is Nesinas Kesef Liisha Almanas She'ein Labaila Rishusbo. Can you give money to a married woman with the explicit condition that her husband has no rights to meddle in that money? In other words, it's exclusively the purview of the woman without her husband being able to control the finance. So the she'ela is ani isha nesua va'aba shali adam ashir. I'm a married woman. This shaila is coming from a woman. She says, I'm a married woman. My father's wealthy. And v'hu noten li midei pa'am sikumim nichbadim kedei she'eshtamesh bakesef. And from time to time, he gives me significant sums of money so that I can use for my personal use. האם מותר לי להשתמש בכסף ברצוני, או שעליי לתת את הכסף לבעלי כפי הדין, שכל מה שכונסה אישה קונה בעלה? Am I allowed to use the money at my discretion, or must I give the money over to my husband's control? Because we know the halacha that whatever a woman acquires, her husband acquires. Chazal made this institution because they realized that for shalom bayis to prevail, there has to be one of the two spouses who has to always be the one who controls the finances. So even though the husband and the wife may both work, the husband has the final say in halacha as far as how their joint income shall be spent.
About the woman who can say, I look after myself.
It's very good, Paul. A woman can say that I'm not going to take any money from the household. I'll take care of myself. You take care of yourself. Um, and you don't have to provide for me because I have my own independent income. And I don't have to take care of the domestic affairs. You can hire somebody to oversee the domestic affairs. A woman does have a right to say that. The question is, though, what is the rights? Normally, whenever she acquires, that's only as far as her household duties. See, the Gemara in Ksuba says that a woman has to provide for her husband certain household responsibilities, the laundry, the cooking, all of the domestic responsibilities. What if she said, and that's in exchange for the fact that he feeds her, that he provides for her food? What if she is independently, a success, and she says, you know what, we'll hire somebody to do all of that work. You can take care of that. And I'll take care of my needs. You take care of your needs, and we're fine. The husband still has control over whatever she brings into the household. Yeah. In
I
other words,
misunderstood it.
yeah, yeah. So those are two separate halachas. Um, um, So the question is, what mechanism can be created to give a woman autonomy over the money she acquires? So Hagemara Omeret b'Masechet Nazir Mashakante Isha Kanabaila. The Gemara in Maseches Nazir says that whatever a woman acquires, her husband acquires. The example that the Gemara gives is that if a woman finds a lost object that she's allowed to keep, she has to relinquish that, even if it's a very valuable thing. She has to relinquish it to her husband. Because of Haritva b'Shem Rabbeinu Tam, shahadin shekol ma shekansa isha kana baila, zehu din midirabana. Rishonim seem to say that it's a rabbinic law. Uva'arach laner b'maseches Yevamos hiksha alav mehagemara b'nazir, the isha she nadra b'nazir, v'hifrisha et hakorban uba'ala heferla et hanazirut. He says the Aruch Laner asks the following question. There's a Gemara in Nazir that says that if a woman takes a vow of Nazirism and she says, I'm going to be a Nazir for 30 days, I'm going to abstain from wine, I'm going to let my hair grow long, and she sets aside a sacrifice to bring at the end of the 30 days. And then her husband comes and he annuls her vow. So she's no longer a Nazir. What's the status of the animal that was designated with a holy status as a korban? Adinhu shahabehema lo mukdeshet v'teitze lirot be'ider im kol hakivasim. So the law is that the animal is no longer sanctified, loses its sanctity, and can go back into the herd. Ela im kein hayala kesef mishela shelo zacha bazeh habal v'kanta et hakeves bakesef ahu. The exception, however, is if she had purchased the animal with her own money that her husband had no access to. So, mashma mehalachazu, shema shekanta isha kana baila ze mehatorah. So it sounds like whatever a woman acquires, her husband acquires even midioraisa. Why? Because ki im zerak midirabanan kamo shekatav haritva mehatorah kesef shalah, eich amru rabotenu, lahafkia isur Torah ba'abehemot shem kodesh yehavchu l'chulin, elafadar shezeh mehatorah. The proof is as follows. You're telling me that if a woman worked and saved, and then she bought an animal, and then she sanctified the animal, and then her husband annuls her vow, the animal loses its holiness? That indicates that the law is a biblical law, that whatever a woman acquires, her husband acquires. If it's only a rabbinical law, then a sacrificial designation is a biblical phenomenon. So it can only be removed by another biblical law. It can't be removed by a rabbinic law. So you must conclude, says the Aruch Laner, that the idea that whatever a woman acquires, her husband acquires, is a biblical instruction. Now, I'm not sure if I subscribe to that argument because the Gemara says many times that Hefker based in Hefker, that the Beis Din does have a right to reassign financial status from one person to another at their discretion. So I'm not sure if I agree with this proof or if I think that the proof is ironclad, but let's look at another proof. Va'od raya mehagemara b'maseches Sanhedrin shahadin shel ben soreru moresh shemotzimo toel ziknei yiro b'shar mekomo b'chayiv misa. So let's look at another phenomenon. There's a halacha about a ben soreru moreh, which we know is a wayward and rebellious child. The Gemara says it never happened, it never will happen, that it's to fulfill the criteria of parents who have so many similarities to each other. To have a child who fulfills all of the necessary criteria to take him to get stoned in the Sanhedrin is impossible to fulfill. However, let's look at the halacha. The halacha is that the parents, after ascertaining that their child is a wayward and rebellious child, bring him to the elders of the city, to the gate of his place. He gets put to death. The Gemara says he has to have stolen wine and meat that belong both to his father and to his mother. If he only steals his father's meat and wine, but doesn't steal anything from his mother, he doesn't get put to death. V'hagemara sha'ala me'efo yesh le'imo basar v'yayin. The Gemara there in Sanhedrin asks the question, where in the world does a woman, a married woman, get her own assets of wine and meat? Aloma shekanta isha kana baila. Don't we say that whatever a woman acquires, her husband acquires? V'im nomar shekol ma shekanta shayach lebaila rak midirabanan, eich niftoret haben sorer mimita shechiyuva midioraita. So he says that question that the Gemara asks, how does a woman get her own meat and wine, is only a legitimate question if the principle of whatever she acquires, her husband acquires, is a biblical principle. Because that's the only way that it could what's what I'm looking for, prevent a ben soror humora, which is a biblical law, from occurring. If the woman's ownership of the meat and wine is legitimately not not hers, even midioraisa, but if it's only not hers midirabanan, and really midioraisa, the assets do belong to her, which is what the Ritva seems to be suggesting, then how could that exempt the child from being a ben soror humora? Elavadai shemasha kanta isha kana baila zemi dioraisa. Adkan divrei ha'arach laner. So we must conclude that this principle of whatever a woman acquires is immediately transferred over to her husband is a biblical principle, and this is the opinion of the Aruch Laner. Okay, now why did Rav Sharaga feel it necessary to make a point of saying that even though it seems like it's a rabbinic law, but it even has the status of a biblical law? So he says, the Makor Baruch says in the footnote, he says, L'cha'ora hayanira litchot et haraya harishana shel Aruch Laner midin isha shenadra. We could at first glance deflect the first proof of a woman who takes a vow of Nazarism, because even if you were to say that this is a rabbinic injunction, that whatever a woman has to be transferred to her husband, we could at first because we have a principle that once the rabbis award someone a financial award, then biblically it belongs to the person to whom they award it. Ayin l'Rabbeinu hagadol zatzal b'mor Yisrael sheherich bazeh, v'yesh bazeh kametamim b'achronim. And the achronim explain why. Hefker based in Hefker, like I had pointed out before, that whenever the rabbis say that money is no longer in your possession, they have a right to do so. And number two, ha'isha mityaeshet mehakesef u'memela bal zoicha b'hem kezoicha mehefger va'od kama ta'amim ve'en kan makom laharich. And another reason that once the rabbis tell a woman the money is no longer yours, she gives up, and the husband automatically takes possession of it based on the psychology of the woman. Aval legabe haraya hashniya shel ha'aruch laner midin ben soror humora efshel letaritz kain. Ki hagemara sham dana al din deoraisa she'ein din ben soror humora elim kain ganav me'av v'imo. He says, however, the whole proof, the second proof, is a little bit more difficult to wiggle out of, because the whole din of ben soror humora only applies if he steals from his father and mother. V'lachein gam im nei meshachar shechachamim tiknu shekol ma shekanta isha kana baila moel shabal yikna afilu midioraisa mikol makom al ikar hadin deoraisa shetzarch sheyignav me'av v'imo lo shayach lomar kain ki me'ikar din deoraisa hakesef shayach lach bim kain my maksha hagemara. He says because the whole biblical law that requires the son to steal from both his mother and his father would never apply, because let's see, what is his argument? Ki me'ikar din deoraisa hakesef shayach la. He says because really midioraisa, the money should go to her. I don't know. I have a bit of a problem with this Makor Baruch. We're not going to delve into it because I think it's a little bit technical. But the bottom line is that whatever a woman acquires, her husband acquires, whether it's de Rabbanan or de Oraisa, is a subject of a debate. Ula'etzem ha'she'ela. But getting to our question, Imuta li'isha li'ishtamesh bekesef shenatan la'aviyah. Does a woman have full control over the money that was given to her by her father? So as we're going to see that there is a special mechanism to provide a woman financial independence from her husband. Mishnah omeret b'maseches nedarim, amadirat chatano shelo yehene mimenu, v'hu rotze latet libito kesef, that if a man has, let's say, gotten upset with his son-in-law, and he takes a vow and he says to his son-in-law, "You're never going to see a penny from me," and yet he wants to make sure that his daughter gets something nice. So there is a remedy. He says, "Omer la hakesef hazen natun lach u'ilvad shelo yilabaylech reshuspo." A father can say to his daughter, "This money is yours on the condition that your husband has no control whatsoever in this thing. Elamashat noseit venotenet b'fich." But it's completely yours. You have full control over this money. So we're going to continue this tshuva mirtz Hashem tomorrow, and we'll see that a man does have the right to give something to his daughter or to his sister, let's say, and make sure that the husband has no control over it.